All right, welcome to another episode of the Ryan and Goodman podcast. I'm Jeff Goodman. He's Bob Ryan. And man, we got a lot to talk about, Bob. A lot to talk about.
Before we do anything else, we want to congratulate our podcast alumni, one of whom certainly ought to be buying the next time we see him. Sure. I think Duncan Robinson ought to reach into the wallet. Duncan Robinson signed 5 years at 9-0.
$90 million, undrafted, started his career at Williams College, Bob.
Oh my God. It's just some story. And our friend TJ McConnell, re-upped in with the Pacers. And I could make do with his 4 years at 32, couldn't you?
Listen, I can make do with our other friend George Niang, who signed a 2-year, I think, $6 million deal to go to the Sixers. And I think he'll be really good as a piece coming off the bench for your boy Doc.
So all right. So we had to acknowledge our podcast alum, our guest.
I drove through Newcastle yesterday. Actually, I was up in Portsmouth, and we ended up eating in Portsmouth, New Hampshire yesterday, driving up there, and we drove through Newcastle, which is where Duncan Robinson grew up. So
wow,
very cool.
Got to be a sign. I think he's worth a plaque now. One of those home of.
Yes, home of Duncan Robinson.
Yeah, I think we have to talk to the town fathers up there. Make sure to get a plaque going.
Well, the Lakers can have a plaque now. Home of Russell Westbrook. Finally, he's an LA product. Came out of there as a mid-major player out of high school. Went to UCLA, and now is headed back to LA to team up with LeBron and AD and
Melo
and Dwight Howard coming back.
Dwight Howard.
My God.
The Lakers.
I got killed, Bob. I got killed for tweeting out something and saying, hey, maybe they should be playing in a nursing home instead of the Staples Center.
Here's a roster. I mean, I'm just reading off some numbers on people on their roster right now. 37, 36, 32, 36, 36, 36, 34, and 32.
Well,
they got one guy. All right, the only people under 30 currently of any import are AD, who's 28, played the season at 28. Ben McLemore, who's 28. Kendrick Nunn, who's 26. Malik Monk, who's 23, and Dennis Schrader. I forgot that.
Schroeder's going to be gone.
Schroeder's gone. Gotta go.
Will be gone.
He already was gone. I had in my head he was already out of there. But
he's a free agent.
Anyway, I mean, this is astonishing. And Jared Dudley won't be on the roster. He's 36. I can't see how he's going to be back. I always root for him. Anyway, it is the AARP Team of the Year.
Here's what I'll say, Bob. All that matters is that one of those 30-somethings is healthy. That's all that matters. The other ones, it's irrelevant. Dwight Howard can be hurt. All those other dudes. If LeBron is close to 100% when it matters, and AD's healthy, obviously. AD's not one of those 30-somethings, but his body could be.
But he's always an iffy participant. Let's put it that way. Right.
I'll say this, though, Bob. My big question to you isn't, let's say for argument's sake, they are healthy when it matters next year. How does Russell Westbrook in his game fit with 36-year-old LeBron and his game now and AD? I actually I don't hate it.
I think Westbrook fooled us even last year with the way he adapted to that surrounding. I thought I was a little skeptical when that happened. And so I am willing to give him the benefit of the doubt in that regard as well. It'll be. I think they'll have the ex-player one ball thing won't be a major issue. I don't think with LeBron and AD and him. I think he did fool us a little bit. Well, he was willing to become the distributor and really first and score second.
And you know what he does? He takes some of the pressure off LeBron having to have the ball in his hands all the time offensively. So that's what you have to be able to do. And now, hey, listen, LeBron can sit out some games and again, load manage next year in a full year. And if you still have AD and Westbrook, you can win some of those games. You're not going to fall back to where your seating isn't good. And
Right. You won't
I
have
like
a
the Kendrick Nunn signing. I like 2 years, 10 million. I would honestly, I was looking at that. Like, how did Brad Stevens not bring on Kendrick Nunn for that money or tried it?
Yeah, well, the Celtics will get to,
Yes.
but
We will get to him. But are you ready to anoint the Lakers now as the clear favorites in the West again?
I don't. It's I don't even trying to find the best word. They're intriguing again. That's for sure.
They're always going to be intriguing.
Intriguing. I guess they will. I know Vegas has already anointed them.
Have they? I haven't
Yes.
looked at the odds. They're the heavy favorite.
Check me if I'm wrong, but I'm Vegas has already leaped on their case over the Suns or the Jazz or anybody else. So Vegas was impressed with that move, with their moves.
I'm going to look at the odds as we're talking right now and see what we
believe
got.
I'm right about that.
Yeah, you are right. They are second behind your Brooklyn Nets. The Nets are 9-4. The Lakers, are basically 4-1 right now to win the whole thing, ahead of the Bucks and the Warriors and the Suns. So, the Nets have less flexibility, obviously, already having their big three. But I actually thought they had a key addition and a really good addition for what they need in Patty Mills.
Yeah,
came in a low contract. Who I just feel like Patty Mills is that underrated guy throughout his career. Hasn't gotten a lot of accolades, but can make shots, is a veteran, can run a team when he needs to. He's just perfect for that group. So I really like that signing in terms of, again, you don't have a lot that you could do. And then I also like what the Nets did in their draft. They got this kid, Day'Ron Sharp, a big out of North Carolina, who's 6'11", 260. He's athletic. He can finish. He'll be good. And they got this kid, Cam Thomas, who's just a gunner out of LSU, who could be a second unit scorer. So I kind of like what the Nets have quietly done here to upgrade their roster.
All right. Well, they're going to be going to be heard from. Absolutely.
The health. But the health of them too.
There's age there. Durant's going to play at 33. Griffin, assuming he'll play at 32. James Johnson is 34. Who knew that? Andre Jordan's 33. Harden 31. Joe Harris hitting the 3-0. By the way, he didn't step up.
No, he didn't make shots.
Do it. He was a disappointment. They could have used a lot more from him as that season, as that playoffs progressed.
Yeah, no doubt.
Anyway, and Irving is 29. And Irving,
his knees aren't 29.
I don't know his.
Right.
How many games?
Yeah, I mean, both of these teams are like, hey, if you get them at 100%, you'll buy both of them. You'll say, like, they're going to meet in the finals. It'll be a hell of a finals, which it would. If they meet next year, Bob, the ratings that would be a LeBron, AD, Westbrook versus KD, Kyrie, and Harden. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't know who people would root for, because I think they're both kind of hated teams now, aren't they?
Oh, I think they're. Yeah, I mean, LA's always a polarizer, and the Nets they are the pariahs of the league in terms of the fans in America. No, their fan base doesn't extend more than 10 miles outside of Brooklyn. I don't think, no, they're clearly a official enemy.
Bob, we need you to tweet. I think we got to do this. We got to get you to tweet at Kevin Durant and see if he'll respond to you, because he responds. I don't know if you paid attention on Twitter, but KD will respond to somebody with like 50 followers. Like, if my daughter tweeted something, he might respond to her. Maybe not in Tokyo right now. He's got a little bit bigger things right now to worry about. But, I don't know if this is good or bad about KD. I kind of like it. The fact that, he's not a big time partier. He sits home. He either plays ball, or he's playing video games, or he's on Twitter.
He's never been on the front of the paper.
Right.
Or on page 6 or anywhere like that. Right. He has never, that I know of, ever come close.
You like that? I mean, listen,
Yeah,
he's in Tokyo right now playing ball when a lot of guys would say what he's done, would say, you know what? I'm going to stay home.
No, it's the third time around. And by the way, they need him.
Oh,
He's indispensable.
Yeah.
You know, he's absolutely indispensable to that team. So that's one thing nobody's got. It's a one advantage, if any, we have in this whole tournament. Slovenia's got Doncic, yes, but we've got KD and nobody's got a KD. So
is he? We've gone through this a little bit right now. If you're taking one guy on your roster to start a team to win it all next year, are you taking KD ahead of LeBron and Luka?
I think, Luka's still young. He's still his ceiling. He hasn't reached it.
Coming.
We don't know what it is. Yes, the answer is yes, because I don't know. You know, see me if LeBron. How many games is LeBron going to play? We'll see. You know, and now KD's, and no, I would say right now he is at his age, even though he's 33 for the season. It's a lean body. It's a pliable body. It's a good body for the long haul. You know, so yeah, I'd say that's probably the guy. Yes.
All right. I want to know your biggest winners so far in free agency. Most of the big boys are off the board, so I think we can do this right now. We waited till we got some of these elite players moving. We got through the draft. Who are your biggest free agency winners right now?
Well, Miami, I think, is a consensus, and I'm part of that consensus. I think it's done very well, and people were wondering where Lowry was going to go. Okay. And Chicago's quietly done. Lonzo Ball with Zach LaVine, and I think they're going to be very interesting.
And DeRozan, and DeRozan, 3 years, $85 million, Bob. That's a lot of money for DeRozan.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But give Arturas Karnisovas credit. While a lot of guys are kind of stepping back and not making moves, Chicago had the money available to do so, and they said, you know what, we'll try to win now. We're going to try to see what we can do. We got to keep Zach LaVine happy. Well, we got an elite level point guard to make him happy, and we also added another wing that's a veteran wing that's an elite level athlete who's been an all-star and been a part of a lot of winning teams in DeRozan. I don't know. I listen, am I crazy to think that Chicago, maybe they're not going to challenge Brooklyn. They're not at that level talent-wise, but they're in that second tier. They've moved ahead of a lot of these other teams that were kind of in the middle of the pack, the Indianas, the Bostons. I kind of like Chicago better than those guys now.
I'm still.
You're not there.
Not there yet, but they're better. They're better, and it can happen. As we saw, we watched the rise of Atlanta. It's possible. That's all. It's definitely very possible. If I were a Chicago Bulls fan, I would be encouraged. I would be enthusiastic. I would be happy with the direction of that the brass have. So I'd be happy with that, and I certainly would be happy in Miami for sure.
Miami, man, their toughness level. Look at, like, you got Jimmy Butler already from a toughness perspective. You had a Kyle Lowry, one of the tougher dudes out there. And oh, by the way, PJ Tucker.
Yes,
there's nobody is messing. And you still, I don't know if Udonis Haslem has hung it up yet. Like, he might be the 13th man on the bench. Like, does anybody want to mess with the Miami Heat?
No, that's a good point. No, you're right about Tucker. That was a good one.
Oh, I'm all about what PJ Tucker brings to the table as far as a piece, locker room, chemistry, toughness.
Oh, accountability.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys, the accountability kind of guy. He'll be reminding people of their functions and their jobs. I can assure you of that. So yeah, no, they're good. They're in good shape. They're nice, in good shape. I'm just, Milwaukee. What's happened there to alter the?
All they did, I think, what did they bring back? Portis.
They got Portis back, and he did play well for them.
They bring back Forbes. I think they did.
I lost that one in the rush. By the way, isn't it amusing? All these deals with the trading, the the starting point is supposed to be 6 o'clock on Friday, and all these things just happen to happen so quickly. It's amazing how quickly people can work, that nobody has had any preliminary discussions about any of these things. Fascinating.
Forbes went to San Antonio, so they took a little bit of a hit, but listen, as long as they got their core, they kept their core big three and kept Portis, Giannis, Middleton, Holiday. You keep Portis, you got Connaughton, DiVincenzo will be back healthy.
That's the other thing. People forget they lost Tim right away. Played, right. I believe, after one game.
Yes.
And so that's going to be good, like getting, it's an important player. He's an important player for them.
Very.
So they're going to be fine. They're still nothing, no tears to be shed in Milwaukee. No.
What about your favorite team down the road, the New York Knickerbockers? Brought back, Derrick Rose.
They brought Burks. We signed Burks. They gave him
Nerlens, Burks.
Well, get him.
They had Fournier.
But there's still the big splash that they keep dreaming about.
Right.
The has not happened yet.
Yeah. No. Yeah, that's the big thing. Is
has not happened.
They got a little bit better, definitely. But again, the question is going to be: was last year for real, or what people got to remember is last year was such a unique season that you can't count on duplicating that for any team. I almost feel like for any team, again, these guys were being tested twice every day. They had to come in. A lot of them had to drive into the arena, if it wasn't a game day or practice day, just to get tested, or people would come to their house, whatever, early in the morning. So I just don't know, like, the Knicks, are you completely bought in that the Knicks are going to be able to duplicate and improve on what they did last year?
Well, we have to mention, we did mention at the outset, they did add Evan Fournier as well.
Yes.
That's
where they look like they got a lot better. But would you tie up almost $20 million a year for Fournier?
Interesting. He came out and said he thought he was very interested in staying in Boston. He claims at the outset of the process, but they were not springing. There was no way they were paying that. Period. No. That's not part of their big plan, which we'll get to. But now the Knicks are, I think incrementally he'll help, but they're not. They haven't vaulted themselves into contention. Let me put it that way. No way.
Next week we'll both do some homework of our power rankings.
Yeah.
After everything shakes out.
I'm just looking at any other interesting. What you think the people in Cleveland thought that Ricky Rubio, they were getting a scoring machine?
Listen.
That game he played was sensational yesterday.
Yeah, unbelievable. And that's the difference when you're playing for your country, as opposed to a lot of these guys playing in the NBA. Their roles are completely different.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes it's to the betterment, and sometimes it isn't. I remember the pressure that was on. I remember there was pressure on Rick Fox when Canada, and it was way too much. When he was their reigning guy, believe it or not, at one point, because I was very active in the international scene back with in the 90s and in the 2000s with the World Championships and the Olympics, and I remember I saw but some guys rise up. It crushed him, but Ricky Rubio, oh my God, the game he played. And also, anybody have a more mournful face than Ricky Rubio? Oh my God, I mean, he looked like he was going to cry every second he was on the court. Yes, but
I actually like that addition.
I'll tell you what, I just keep flashing back. I could not get over watching it, thinking about when we first discovered him. He was 17 years old when he was a member of the national team, and I remember I was there, and I remember thinking how incredibly poised and mature as a player he was, and not remotely fazed by being in that international competition at age 17. Anyway, and so he's getting paid too. So that's nice.
Yeah, he's got one more year, and Cleveland took him on to kind of probably a little bit tutor Darius Garland, a young point guard, and a little bit to make sure they had an upgrade. They lost Dellavedova. They're going to have an upgrade at that backup point guard spot now with Rubio, and Rubio could probably start. I mean, that's the beauty. Again, Cleveland, we won't waste a ton of time. How about, okay, here's one for you. So New Orleans lets Lonzo walk. I mean, basically, they let him walk. They could have kept him. He was a restricted free agent. They did not. They let him walk. And again, he got paid $20 million a year.
Sure did, yeah.
But obviously, David Griffin does not have faith in Lonzo. I don't know why, because everybody else I talked to likes Lonzo now. What's not to like, right? He's an elite level passer. He's a really, really good defender. And now he's shooting 37, 38% from three the last 2 years. So there's not many holes in Lonzo's game. The one hole I would say is leadership and vocal, ability as a point guard. There's not much of that from Lonzo, and there probably never will be. But they let him walk, and they fill him, and they got good pieces. We know this. Like 2 years ago, everybody was talking about New Orleans taking this big jump after the play-in with Zion, with Brandon Ingram, with Lonzo, that they had this talent. So now they got Devontae Graham, who kind of was supplanted in Charlotte this year. He had a great year 2 years ago. Had a good year last year, but obviously it's LaMelo Ball's team now, and Terry Rozier's getting paid almost $20 million a year, so they couldn't afford Devontae. Devontae goes to New Orleans, 4 years, 47. So a lot less money, about 11, 12 a year. So you're not paying 20 a year. Was that the right move for New Orleans, or should they have kept Lonzo Ball?
Well, I mean, I came around on Lonzo Ball, excuse me. And so
were you combining LaMelo and Lonzo there?
Yeah, I mean, get him on my lows and my loss and and LiAngelo's and all. No, but seriously, I've come around on him to come to appreciate his game, and so I think they've gone backwards. Also, I remember somewhere along the way in the last couple of weeks, I saw an allusion. I don't know whether did I read it? Was it on Twitter? Was it that get ready for Zion to bolt as soon as he can?
All right. So I'll say something on that. I don't believe that yet. And I think Zion's a lot closer to Giannis than he is. Yes. In terms of his mentality, I'm telling you, we'll never get him on the show. I could try. Like, this kid is like salt of the earth. If you sit down with Zion Williamson, and I've sat down with him numerous times, you are blown away by this kid. Like, he is the highest level, like, character, everything. He's right about everything. Like, everything is about him is right about basketball. I don't think he'll bolt unless, again, but I said that about Anthony Davis, some of the same things. I love Anthony Davis as a kid, all that. But ultimately, as they grow up and they lose, eventually they get to the point where not just them, but their agents and their people around them say, like, you got to demand a trade here. You got to say you're not going to play, whatever it is. Could that happen with Zion? Sure. I don't see Zion as the type to just bolt from New Orleans at the first sign of and again,
I would think it would be my inference was it was just him looking around, saying, where are we going? And, that kind of thing, and not I need to get more money or anything like that. Or he's playing that he's too young to be playing. I got to get a ring thing, that game. But just.
I mean, it took Giannis how many years? Giannis is in year 8, right?
Yep.
I mean, Zion just finished year 2.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so I just threw that out there.
Yeah, I don't see that happening quickly. I could see that. I mean, listen, Bradley Beal stayed in Washington. He's coming into year 9, I think, right? Like, now he's a free agent in a year. And again, maybe now's the time we'll get to losers so far in free agency.
All right, it might as well.
And I don't think we need to sugarcoat this. I mean, the Boston Celtics might be the biggest loser right now in the NBA because you've got 2 All-Stars, one guy knocking on the door of being a top 5 player in the league, and Jason Tatum, in my opinion. Maybe, again, people will say I'm crazy on that, but I think Jason Tatum will be the best scorer in the NBA in 3 years. I really do. I think he'll be the best scorer in the NBA, period.
All right.
You got Jaylen Brown and Brad Stevens. The biggest move he made was bringing Josh Richardson in a 1-year deal worth about 11 to 12 million, which I think Josh Richardson's a nice piece, an upgrade over Shemi Ojale on the second unit. He's a better scorer and a really good defender. But if that's all you did, how can Celtics fans expect this team to be any better than it was last year when it was 500 and played in the playing game.
Well, particularly since we want to know who's going to be the point guard.
Well, we know who it is now. I mean, it's Marcus Smart. Who else could it be? You're going to start Peyton Pritchard?
I refuse. But that's by default. I certainly completely, in my mind, do not remotely think of him as a point guard. He's a guy that can handle certain aspects of the responsibility technically, but he's not a point guard. Never will be. You know, they need a real point guard. I mean, I hope that isn't the way that Brad and Emi are thinking, that this is the answer. That, I mean, guys are flying around. You know, you mentioned Kendrick Nunn. You know, that would have been somebody. I mean, I don't know, but who's left?
Nobody. I mean, Dennis Schroeder, who's flammable as anything. So you're not going to bring in, Brad Stevens is not going to bring in Dennis Schroeder, in my opinion, to be Ime Udoka's first point guard here in Boston. You know, you missed out. No Lonzo, no Kyle Lowry. Mike Conley goes back. So again, there's a drop at this point where I'm sure Brad is saying to himself, well, we can't really upgrade this all that much. So I'm going to stick with Marcus Smart, you know, unless, again, he can make a trade involving Marcus Smart. That would be, to me, the only other way to do this is, can you move Marcus Smart for another point guard? But I don't know who it is right now. I feel like it's almost like this is what you've got right now. We're going to be very mediocre this year, and we're going to put all of our chips in for next year for the guy who I've said they should do now is Bradley Beal. Now, I get it. Like, Brad's a lot smarter than I am. And Brad's probably saying to himself, well, why am I going to give up Jaylen Brown if in a year I got a chance to maybe get Brad Beal? I know Beal is going to be frustrated. They traded Westbrook. They're not going to be good this year. I mean, they got Kuzma, and, you know, the funny part is Brad Beal is like best friends with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who they got in that trade to Washington.
Yeah.
So Beal's going to ride out this year. The big question is, he could sign a huge extension right now if he wants to for huge money, or he can wait a year and sign even more or become a free agent. So if you're Brad, you're rolling the dice a little bit here, because Beal's the one guy that you probably look at and say, he's the missing piece. If I add him with Tatum and Jaylen Brown, we got a chance here.
Yeah, now we're talking.
We got a chance. We got our big three, right? And our big three is younger than your big three over in Brooklyn or your big three in LA. So we'll take our chances and grow with our big three. They're going to get better and better. Your big threes are going to get worse and worse and older. So I like the idea of it. If it works, listen, if it works, Brad Stevens is a genius, because I'll take this year, if I'm a Celtics fan, of mediocrity, if I've got a chance to maybe win it all in 2, 3, 4 years.
Well, they're very frank about saying that they're playing a long game in terms of making sure where their financial situation is right, so that next year they can go after people,
right,
and significant people. And so they're, read between the lines, folks. We're not kidding anybody about what we're going to be this year.
Right.
So,
but why not get somebody again? Why not get a guy even on a 1 year now? And there weren't many 1 years out there. There, you know, a lot of these guys, even like the Jeff Greens of the world, you know, 2 years, 10 million. You know, again, Kendrick Nunn, 2 years, 10 million. I might have done a Kendrick Nunn of 2 years, 10 million, but they're trying to make sure that next year that they're going to be in a position where they can add a Bradley Beal. They're going to have, I'm telling you, they're going to have nobody under contract beyond this year if they can, other than two guys, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And everybody else is going to be expendable.
And one thing they do have in the discussion of this point guard is an excellent backup. They got a backup. They just need a guy.
They got two good backups.
Yeah.
Marcus Smart and Peyton Pritchard. The problem is they don't have a starter.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? I mean, that's the problem. So the Celtics, you know, to me, again, I think you're looking at more of the same, 500 this year, unless something crazy happens. And, you know, you just got to make sure what you have to do this year, as much as anything, is get the chemistry right between Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
So that if they get a Brad Beal, they're clicking at all cylinders, and both those guys are getting better. Like they have to keep making strides so that they're ready in a year. You know, Tatum again is a top 5 player in the league in 2 years. And Jaylen Brown is a clear-cut all-star and has gotten his decision-making better. And, his shot continues to fall if that's the case. All right. The other team that I'm looking at and I'm saying, like, they're close. They're kind of like the Celtics in a way. They're close. They got a superstar coming. And John Morant is the Memphis Grizzlies, who didn't do a whole lot. Now, I didn't like their draft at all, Bob. With the 10th pick, they took a kid named Zaire Williams, who's an awesome kid out of Stanford. He played with Bronny James in high school at Sierra Canyon. Came in with a lot of hype. Had an up and down freshman year at Stanford, but he looks the part. He's a long, athletic, skilled, fairly skilled wing, 6'7". They took him 10th. Listen, nobody else was going to take him in the top 15. They could have moved back and taken him. And then the craziest one is they had they traded with Utah and got the 30th pick of the draft, and they took a kid out of Loyola, Maryland, who's originally from Spain, named Santi Aldana. I've heard of him. I know of him. I've never seen him play in person, because I know their head coach, Tavares Hardy, pretty well. And when he got him, he said he's going to be a pro. And I was like, yeah, sure, he's going to be pro, whatever. Well, he was drafted 30th when I don't think anybody else, a lot of people didn't even have, when I talked to NBA guys, didn't even have him on their boards. Wasn't even the top 60 for some NBA teams. So in Memphis, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think they've done anything in free agency either.
Their name has not cropped up. All this wildness.
So what are you doing? If you're Memphis, what the hell are you doing? Because you got John Morant, you got Jackson coming back. Dylan Brooks has been really good. You're not far away from taking that next step, but you got to make moves here.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what the plan is. I mean, obviously we have no idea, but it is surprising, no question.
All right, here's another one for you. Would you, if you are the Phoenix Suns and James Jones and Robert Sarver, because I'm sure they couldn't have done this move without Robert Sarver doing this, would you have paid one Chris Paul 4 years, $120 million? He is LeBron's age. He's
36.
Right. So you're talking about paying somebody at 40 years old or 39 turning 40, $30 million. Now, again, you're playing for the title. That's what you're doing here. You're saying, like, without Chris Paul, we don't have a chance of winning this whole thing. We have no choice. We have to pay Chris Paul basically for the next 2 years, thinking that we have a chance maybe to win a title. And the last two, we're going to have some problems.
Well, and we do know there was a market. He had people that would definitely had wanted him. Starting in Madison Square Garden. I know that they were throwing that one around. Yet you say to yourself, was it necessary 4 years? Oh my God, he'll be 40. Name me a 40-year-old point guard.
There aren't many. There aren't many that are going to be at that level. And again, Chris Paul takes care of himself. He does, but he's been hurt a lot throughout his career.
He's a little guy. He's 6 feet tall, and somebody could fall on him. I mean, seriously, that is the answer is, would I have done it? I sure as well wish I could have done it for 2 years and not 4.
He was going to get 3 years somewhere else. He was definitely going to get 3 years. I think New Orleans was going to pay him 3 at 90. So I think Phoenix felt like the way we can keep him, we're going to get
on this legacy thing with him. Where are you on that?
I'm trying to think of where I'd put Chris Paul among the greatest players, right? I mean, I think I heard Barkley saying it the other day, and whether you like or don't like Chuck, like I do love the fact that he's pretty honest for the most part in what comes out of his mouth. It may be wrong, but he's going to say what he believes. And what he said was, listen, the reality is these days, he said, they did it with me. They're going to do it with everybody who hasn't won a title. Like, you're just thought of differently. That's all. Like, you are. And that's how it's going to be with Chris Paul. If you win one, you're in a different stratosphere. Then to me, I just don't know. Are you putting Chris Paul, is he better than John Stockton, his career?
The categories of guys we're talking about are Chris Paul, Steve Nash, John Stockton, Isaiah Thomas. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's where I differ with people on this.
Okay.
I don't think he belongs in the discussion because point guards don't belong in the discussion. The idea that a point guard can be the dominant, the number one factor is a fallacy.
Wow.
It is not the nature of the game. The nature of the game is that the most useful people are mid-sized players who have a variety of skill. Mid-sized being defined as 6'5" to 6'9", maybe 6'10", that can play all phases of the game and affect the game, rebounding, passing, scoring, etc., etc. Or in the old days, dominant big men.
Not
and
anymore.
The new big man models are different. They're more. It's the Jokic is the gold standard of the new modern big man. All right,
that's a rare.
It's not the overpowering, dominant physical force big men of yore. All right, now point guards are. It's unfair to put this burden on a 6-foot basketball player. That is not the nature of the game, and I wish people would stop it. It is not.
I think I'm guilty. I think I'm guilty of it, Bob, to be honest.
I'm asking you to rethink your premise, because I don't think point guards belong in this discussion. The only one who does happen to be 6'9", and he's an anomaly, and we've been waiting to see another one. And guess what? There isn't one yet.
Wait, Ben Simmons?
There will be.
Ben Simmons isn't that guy, Bob? You're not ready?
Jesus, Ben Simmons. I'm gonna have a moratorium on Ben Simmons bashing this week. We'll take a week. I won't.
It's seemingly either Kyrie or Ben every week, one or the other. I feel like, Ben has allowed you to get away from bashing Kyrie, so that's okay. That's okay for a little while. But it's what? Hey, it's 1A and 1B with you, Kyrie and Ben.
But that's my premise: is that point guards are unfairly put in a position they don't belong in.
Okay, so having said that, does Chris Paul belong in the same conversation with one Isaiah Thomas, or is he in the same realm as John Stockton?
We come down to the who do you want? I got to play tonight. Are we talking about tonight? We talking about a year? We talking about a career? What are you talking about? You're talking about we're playing tonight, and which one do I want, and whose A game is the best? If they all bring their A games, okay.
Go ahead.
Then Chris Paul is last on that list in my book.
Is Isaiah one?
Isaiah's A game. Isaiah Thomas's highlight film is second only to Michael's in the last 25 or 30 years of playoff history. Only to Michael's, his highlight film. Okay. At his very best, when he figured it all out and stopped some of the bullshit that he played with earlier in his career, I would take it. Then I would go Nash, and I'd go Stockton, and then I would go Chris Paul, and in that order. Are those? Are we
forgetting anybody else?
AI.
Oh,
that's an interesting one. AI is an interesting one. I would. How about his A? I'd take his A game over. Chris Paul.
His A game, you might take over anybody.
Yeah, I might take it.
Isaiah.
I forgot about level. I mean, AI did some stuff, and what he did. Look at that Philly roster. Every time we look at that Philly roster that went to the finals, and tell me who else can you even name anymore? Yeah,
he doesn't get as much. I feel like he just doesn't get as much credit as he deserved because of, again, people don't look at what he played alongside. He was electrifying.
I have to backtrack. I may have to say that. I may have to put. I had forgotten him, but see that which is unfair. And I'm glad I remembered. I'm glad I caught myself.
Isn't that crazy that we forget about him though that easily?
I know it. It's not. It's a part of it, because he was the whole shtick was interesting. But
but you know what?
Was anybody tougher? No.
No.
Ever tougher than AI? No.
Nobody. I mean, you take him over anybody if you said, like, one game, I need a guy who's going to get 40, a smaller guard who I know can just win the game by himself. You would take AI over any of those guys.
Yeah, and a very close call with Isaiah, but you're right. But so Chris Paul's last on that list and it's not fair. I mean, they put that burden on a 6-foot player. That's not the nature of the game. So that's where I think it's an unfair discussion for him.
Shooters before we leave.
Well,
incredible. You mentioned it at the top about Duncan Robinson.
Duncan, our boy Duncan,
5 years, 90 million.
90 mil.
You've got Evan Fournier going almost 20 million, 4 years, 78. My guy Doug McDermott, who we still have to get on the show, signed with San Antonio for 3 years at, I believe, 42 million. Sorry, 42 million. I don't want to give him 4 more million than he's going to earn. He may not be able to make it through the year without that.
It's a 3-point world, and you got somebody that you can rely on in that regard. They all get paid. 48 got paid. It's definitely a 3-point shooting world, and that's the currency now. That's it. So, yep, it's the way it is. So get out there, kids.
Shoot the ball.
Shoot that ball.
If you can shoot the ball, I'll give you a couple more that have signed that can really shoot the ball. Here's one who I didn't think would do this. Gary Trent Jr., who was a second rounder out of Duke. 3 years, 54 million for Toronto to bring back. Reggie Bullock with the Knicks, 3 years, 30.5 million. I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting anybody.
Tim Hardaway.
Or
at 72.
Right.
With Dallas.
I mean, if you've got size and can shoot the basketball, you've got a chance to make at least 10 million a year right now. If you can really, really shoot it. And again, as you said earlier, point guards probably get more credit or
like quarterbacks.
Yeah, more than they deserve. What I will say is, like, multi-dimensional wings and shooters have become more and more valuable over the years here. In this day and age,
all sports evolve. It's evolving,
Well, look at Luka Garza. So Luka Garza went, what number did he end up going?
42, somewhere in
Yeah.
there.
So he went, where was it? I got it in front of me here. Where did he end up going? Go later than that? 52 to Detroit. 52. Okay. How many years ago? Think about this. Luka Garza was probably as good, if not better, college basketball player than Jahlil Okafor. Jahlil Okafor went third in 2015, Bob, 7 years ago. 6 years ago. Sorry, 6 years ago. Jahlil Okafor went third. Luka Garza just went 50 in the 50s. That's how the game has changed. That's all you need to know. And Luka Garza is far more capable of stepping out and shooting the three right now. He's proven it.
We can conclude by paying homage to the Tootie shooters.
Yeah.
Of all the GOAT of shooters, no argument.
Right.
Mr. Curry.
Yep.
Re-ups for 215 whatevers.
Couldn't happen to a better dude. Couldn't happen to a better guy. Like, I don't know. I'm just the biggest Steph fan because I still say in a day and age where a lot of these guys have changed. And again, and Steph has fun out there, right? He'll do the wiggle and people think he's arrogant, maybe. I don't know. Every time I see Steph, like, I walk in the locker room in Boston and Steph will immediately, like, say something to me.
Yeah.
And like, he doesn't have to. I'm not an NBA guy necessarily. But I've known him since he was young. And
yeah, sure.
A lot of other guys, I think have changed. And you talk to enough people around Steph, they'll say the same thing, that Steph Curry is one of those superstars that really has not changed over time. And I'm happy for him. He deserves it. And like you said, listen, nobody shoots it better. Nobody. I've never seen anybody shoot it at that level. Trae Young got paid on the rookie extension. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander got paid on the maximum for the rookie extension, which, I think some of those small market teams have no choice, Bob.
Yeah.
Like, is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander going to be a superstar? I don't know, but if you're Oklahoma City, you can't afford to let him walk. So you gotta overpay.
There we go.
So, all right, listen, we'll try to do our power rankings next week.
That's fair.
Once things shake out in each league, we'll go through. That'll be our homework for next week to try to figure it all out. And but a lot has happened. I think we're still going to see a lot more happen. And I know you're going to be glued to the summer league upcoming. I know, Bob, you are going to be absolutely glued to the big Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green matchup in Vegas.
Well, I want to see Green play. I must say, never seen it. Oh, not whatever you probably have, but I never seen him.
I have. I saw him in AU, and I saw him a little bit, on TV in the G League bubble, and he is impressive. I mean, really, really impressive. The biggest shock for me still, looking back at this draft, was the Toronto Raptors taking Scotty Barnes over Jalen Suggs. But I've heard, Bob, that Suggs did not have a great workout in Toronto, and that played into it. So we'll see. But I love Suggs, his upside. And all right, listen, thanks for joining us. Another episode of the Ryan and Goodman podcast. Make sure to, again, listen to your pods wherever you do, find it. And we stream it every single week on Twitter. Bob's got to start retweeting it one of these days, so people can see it.
I'm back in the game now. I was
back in the Twitter game. He took a little hiatus from Twitter.
I was out for 6 weeks or so, and my first one I came back, I had a signature typo, so everybody knew it was me. It wasn't a phony Bob Ryan. It was the real good deal.
We need an editor.
I'm good for a typo a week or two.
We need Joe Sullivan to be your editor from now on Twitter.
I remember, Duncan, you're buying, pal. Just remember that.
That's right. In Newcastle, Duncan's going to take us out at Popovers.
I want to get that plaque for you too. Don't worry, we'll get home.
There you go. All right, we'll see you next week.
Hi guys, Cedric Maxwell here. I want to take a minute to tell you about Marigold Medical. I'm used to keeping my body in great shape, but with arthritis, even the most simple everyday tasks became unbearable. As soon as I called Marigold Medical, I knew I was in good hands. No drugs, no surgery, just an experienced team of caring professionals that wanted to get me back to doing the things I love. Make the call to Marigold Medical and get back to pain-free life.